it's like the dots have to be joined up. It's like we're given a dot-to-dot book and we're joining the dots, and the dots in our mind that's the thing. So you've got 2 dots there and you're saying now I have to join them up. And that's what the illumination is, or the awakening is. It's joining those dots. It's going, oh, I see how that's connected. So I would also just like to prompt you to that when you're in the bakery and you're watching, you're sort of standing there watching that happen. Just ask yourself, what meaning am I giving this? Because remember that I found with the responsibility for sight and that other paragraph that you read, they were pointing to that lesson. And I found it easier to just use lesson 2 on those things. It seemed the easiest way to ask myself the question, if Jesus says, I am giving everything all the meaning it has, you can just hold that question in your mind. What meaning am I giving this? And you can become aware of the meaning.
Well, I thought about it, and I'm thinking there's 2 things happening. I think they're a bit of a combination of both. That one, it's like there's an injustice happening, like, because I'm next, it's not fair or something. But the other thing was that me not speaking up and saying something is also an issue. Like I could just say, I'm next. So there's like a double thing there going on, and even though it's like it's a really, like I said, a really minor thing, and I've done it myself. I've jumped in ahead of the queue. I've been told off by a woman, but you weren't next, sort of stuff. Afterwards, and I thought even that time I felt again it was unjust, because I looked, when someone said who's next, I looked around, and because I was daydreaming, I didn't have a clue who was in front of me or not. So I looked around, people were standing back, and no one actually was coming forward. So I just said, oh yeah, okay, I'll go next. But then she sort of had a go at me afterwards, and I thought, I don't think I could think of then. I thought, well, maybe she wasn't next, and she was waiting for the person who was next to say something. That's why she didn't say anything. But when I went next before everybody, she had a go at me. But it's I felt guilty.
Yeah, so that's really good. So it's really important to be aware that you feel guilty. Feel guilty for speaking up. And be unfairly treated. That's what you want to find. That's why I asked you, what meaning have I given this? Because it's important you become aware that everything, that the meaning I give it is I'm unfairly treated.
I think that's going to be a theme with all my stuff. It's about justice.
Yes.
Being just. Yeah.
That's it. So that's where you become more and more aware. And that leads on to other things. So I'm not going to give it to you, but I'm just going to give you little prompts.
You can give it to me. Give it to me.
No, I'm not. Well, I've already given it to you a million times anyway from things you said.
Yeah.
But it's like the dot is joined up. So when I'm standing there and I'm upset, I'm not even aware of why I'm upset. So I have to become aware, I'm upset because I'm unfairly treated. So that's the next clue. It's like a treasure hunt. You're finding the clues and you find them in your mind, because until you become aware of that next thing, because the ego hides that unfairly treated, it just gets, and then you get grumpy and you leave it because you're not at peace.
Yeah.
So the only way to get to peace is to find all the reasons why and then have them undone. But you have to become aware of it. It's very important on this journey to become the scientist of why, what meaning. So you stand back, okay, Jesus says I've given this a meaning. What meaning? Okay. The meaning is that I'm unfairly treated.
Yeah, there's something else though, Kate, because I was saying to the other group, I think on the weekend at one time, about how I feel like there's a quicker way or an easy way to do this, because when I had that sort of stuff with my mother and my daughter, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. And I think my mother might have even before did it, maybe even before A Course in Miracles. Might have even been before then.
You will get, and when you say there's a quicker and easier way, you will get instant insight into certain things, that's for sure. But I really think that the way to true peace is to see every step really clearly. Because if you don't, I really think you can, and I've had the same thing, I've had instant shifts, but I really do think that you have to see, you have to slow the mind down and you have to see how it works. You have to see the unfair treatment. You have to see the thoughts of unfair treatment. You really have to become aware how the ego works, because that's the only way you transcend it. So I know they may not like what I'm saying and think, it's got to be quicker and this, that, the other.
Oh, yeah. No, I think probably what's happened is I think what you said before, I've actually done the work earlier, and it's happened like with my daughter, there was a lot of awareness going on for quite a while, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe I've done it, maybe at the bread shop, it's different to the other stuff, because I've known my mother for many years, I've known my daughter for many years, so it's probably maybe I've done a lot of work in the meantime, and it's just been a sort of automatic shift, yeah.
Yeah, and something, the reason why I'm pointing this out is, and I'm going over it, because what happens is that the ego can come in so quickly and disrupt your peace and leave, and you're just like, what? Oh, now I feel, crappy. If you can remember those couple of steps, okay, what meaning did I give this? And you'll find the unfair treatment. You'll find the grievance, and the grievance is always based on unfairly treated. Because this is what the Course is teaching us. You can very quickly then let it go. It's not the only way. I just found it a very practical way because it's that, you can see that what happened, like when he says, this happened to me, I would say the unfair treatment happened to me. That's the answer to that responsibility for sight. The unfair treatment. And where was the unfair treatment? The meaning I gave it. So that's how that responsibility for sight works. It's the dots that join up. And once you get that, it's really, and you see it and you activate it and you watch it wherever you go, it can really be helpful for you to identify the upsets and step back from them. Sometimes it's a lot easier than others. Anyway, that's one process I use. That's been my go-to for a long time. As soon as I'm upset, what meaning did I give this? Where's the unfair treatment? Okay, it's impossible for me to be unfairly treated. Snap, it's gone. And you could say, I know, but I didn't want to give you that, but I did, you see. Yeah. But I wanted you to get to that yourself, because you could say, God has one thumb. Straight away, you would notice the meaning, notice the unfair treatment, apply the antidote, God has one thumb, bang, it's all gone, standing in the bakery, happy. So that's instant forgiveness. And that's it.
So what I found when I was given a particular worksheet to work, that I really worked diligently. Like, I did it at first very specifically and very detailed with, every time I had a little trigger. So it was very specific, very detailed. But what happened is, because we are using our mind, and it's an action of mind, we have an action of mind, and our action, we're overlearned with the ego to have a specific action, holding on to the thoughts, holding on to the grievances and everything. So what I found with my repetition of using the worksheet, it's like you really are training your mind, and another action starts taking place. So as you do that, your mind starts learning. So then it's almost you get some sort of elevation, you could say, and so you become much faster, and you're actually, after a period of time, I didn't have to write all that stuff out. It was like an action of mind. I had enough elevation, you could say, so I could see what was happening in the moment that was happening, and I'd be able to actually drop. I was noticing the other day, it's like when you've got that more space in your mind, you can see something coming up, and it's almost like you can just drop it before it's like becomes a Klingon, you could say. And that was really just after repetitively doing the slow, you could say slow time, looking at it very specifically and in-depthly. And once there was more spaciousness, then it was more like, oh, bam, it starts coming up, and you see it, and you can see the whole thing, and then you can give it over without, in the moment while you're in the interaction, whereas, to get to that point, I had to just go away and then work with the upset seemingly after the trigger, after the appearance that was triggering stuff. I'll stop that. Yeah, so I don't know whether that makes sense, Mike. I mean, you've got the contrast of the feeling of what happens with the forgiveness, but it is sometimes, the slow, more tedious seemingly gets you to a point where you don't have to go away and do it seemingly afterwards.
Which process did you use there?
Well, I was given the radical forgiveness, and like I said, it's sort of been built on a little bit more. Like now, it's even sort of deeper. I can use it sort of in a more deep way, in a certain way, and so that was given to me at a particular point in time, and like I said, I really worked it. I just, every slight trigger, I would go, okay, whether I wanted to or not, I would go, okay, get my worksheet out and do the whole thing.
That's
and sometimes I would think, I felt like I was doing it very superficially even sometimes, but it's still, and I mightn't have got an immediate relief or anything, but like I say, it was like an excavation. Something was going on, and then I'm going to say all of a sudden, but it wasn't really like that. It was just like waking up one day and everything was different in a certain way.
Yeah. So, Mike, it's really wonderful to hear that you had a really blissful day after doing the worksheets and getting some insight and going deeply, and that's why it is important to really deconstruct the mind. Can you send me also the radical forgiveness process, because that might be good for me to have with people. Like, I've done the Byron Katie with her, and I like the 6 steps for freedom as well, but it's always good to have that other. I know Regina Dornakis has her own process called root cause forgiveness process. So
there was also a forgiveness letter I sent to everyone too, I think from Jennifer Hadley, which I was just looked over. I just sort of used it slightly, and it looked like it could be very helpful too. So I'll just send you the whole email, Kate.
Yeah, fantastic. So it's like what we've been talking about and what you were talking about, Annie, and a little bit like what Kevin was saying. Sometimes it's instantaneous. Like sometimes you can be with someone and you can feel the trigger, or you can see something and you just somehow there's some shift straight away in that moment, and there's nothing to be done. The shift just happens. You see it's like you're viewing it, and then other times you're caught up in something. You're just caught in it, and it doesn't shift. And so say you're at the bakery and you see the unfair treatment and you leave there and you feel aggrieved and you get home, and it's not that you're stewing on it, but it's changed the way you feel. You're not aware of it, so you go about your day, you're just a little bit unhappy, but you haven't shifted it. So that's where, now I know a lot of people would say, well, I'm not going to sit down and do a worksheet. But I, like Annie, and we're all different, right? So this is the thing, you're going to have your unique way. But I, like Annie, early on, I did a lot of writing, a lot of worksheets. I tried to really get what was in my mind, because I'm always aware that Jesus says the ego tries to hide it. So there's all this burying the grievance in your mind. So the work is to become more aware of what's going on in the ego mind and to become more aware of it. But the thing is, we've got an application, so we're not going back to the grievance or the upset to stew in it. That's what we've been doing for years, bringing it up, going, oh my God, I'm so unfairly treated, this happened. It's like reliving the past, getting upset, feeling sad and depressed and anxious, and then going to bed, and nothing ever gets healed in that. But these processes are really to get it out, to leave it, to see, to have some aha moment, or sometimes it's not even like you even know how it gets done. It's just the doing of the process unravels it in our mind. It just gets healed as we do it. And especially like with Byron Katie stuff, it's that, what are the turnarounds? Now that's the lesson. Above all else, I want to see this differently. The turnarounds are the seeing it differently, and they unlock it. Because remember, an unforgiving thought is one that we don't raise to doubt. So all these processes are doing the actual lessons of the course. They're giving us the process to raise that to doubt. And that's the freedom. And we just have to have some doubt in there that what we believe is true isn't true. And once we get some doubt, once we go, actually, that may not be, oh, I see it differently now, oh, okay. And like, for example, in the bakery, if you had have spoken, maybe if you knew those two people, you might say, oh, the lady that got served before me, her husband's dying of cancer, and she's got 5 kids at home. And the woman there is her neighbour, and she's like, oh, she's got to get back to her kids, I'll serve her first. But you don't know all that behind the scenes. Not that you need to know, but it's like that unravels, like, oh, yeah, of course. And so that's sort of like it's always being open to see another view, to have another way, to see that everything's working together for good, everything's fine. But it's... anyway, I'll just sort of say that, but that's really what it's about. So these processes are really helpful. They really are. They're the way to be free. And if you feel, but after a while with the process, like Annie says, they actually get activated in your mind without you writing them. So I know with Byron Katie stuff, a lot of the people that were doing the Byron Katie process, writing it out, would get to the stage where as soon as they got a grievance, they would say, is that true? And the grievance would leave. So it starts to become an activation, like I think that's what you were sort of pointing to, that it becomes more of the something that your mind actually does on its own. It looks at the unforgiving thought, which is the ego thought, which is an unforgiving thought, because the ego never raises its thought to doubt. It never says, this is how it is, but hang on, I might be wrong. It raises something to doubt and says, I'm right. And the only way you can raise that unforgiving thought to doubt is by having another view. And that's what I would say the Holy Spirit or your guide or the truth is. It raises that thought to doubt, and that's what a process does. It gives you another way. It says, this isn't actually true. This is something I've been hanging on to for years for true, but it's not actually true. And so it raises it to doubt, and therefore forgiveness, that raising to doubt is what forgiveness is. It's another way of seeing it. That's what forgiveness is. And it dissolves, just raising it to doubt and having another way. Actually, the thought, the way you've been seeing the situation or the person changes and shifts, and then peace comes in. And it can be about anything, all the things you believe about yourself, all the things you believe about others, everything. It's got to really, your whole point of view about everything really has to change. That's how we get freedom. We have all these points of view, all these ideas and thoughts and beliefs that we're hanging on to. They all get just changed through this process, and we start to become freer and freer of it. And then as we get freer, we're activating forgiveness a lot quicker.
Like he says, miracles need to become habits, and that is like, so we're learning a habitual way of using our mind differently.
And the reason why we get motivated to do it is we see that it does work, and we go, oh, like Mike's already had, oh wow, I did this process and I had a day of bliss. Well, that's why we activate it, because we see the outcome of it, and that's what motivates us to do forgiveness processes.
So, Annie, when you say you did it when you were triggered by every little thing, was how did you do it when you had those, when you didn't quite know why you were triggered?
I mean, like for me, I'd always have to sort of probably sit quietly, because like the stuff is hidden. It's hidden. So, and at the first, I don't know whether you were doing the sort of radical forgiveness one. At the first, they get you to be really human at first. So you're being a real victim, and you're just exposing your story. And it's really probably just sitting there and listening for a moment. Like, what is it? Like the other day, yesterday when I was doing it, what is it? Am I, the upset really sort of about? Like, I'm upset. And I just probably have to wait, Mike, for something to rise. So I'd probably just have to wait and listen. And then I don't know whether that one, because I know I've sort of got two versions of the radical forgiveness that I've sort of played with. And I know one of them is sort of asks you deeper questions like, what do I think it means? Or, when I see, it's a good way, when I see blah, blah, blah going on, what do I think that means? That can be sort of a deeper inquiry. When I see that person, what do I think's happening? So it's almost like bringing questions to mind that are helpful to get a little bit of a deeper inquiry going. So you do sort of get a little bit more answer, and that is, I guess, asking the right questions to expose, which might be, when I see this, what do I think is happening? When I see, when I see Kate look at me that way, what do I think is happening? When I see Kate looking at me, what do I think that means? Or, it might be just a feeling. When I see that person, what do I feel? Okay, what's happening there? Why do I think I feel that way? So it's kind of being patient so the right questions come, so that you can just go deeper into it and expose what's underneath, what's going on, what the software is.
Annie and I did a process called Journal Speak, and what happened when I got stuck like that was I put the pen on the paper and I just write the feeling, and just keep writing, and before long it would develop. I just kept writing the feeling. So if the feeling was so fucking pissed off. I feel uncomfortable. What's going on? I feel shitty. I feel angry. Oh, and I feel hurt. And it would develop.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Nikki, because sometimes you can't. I remember towards, the end of my journey more, I couldn't identify the grievance. I just felt those feelings. But I, like Annie, I didn't. That's a wonderful, probably a better way to do it. I used to just find that if I meditated and quietened my mind, it would sort of come to me, a person would appear in my mind, and I'd say, yes, it's actually a grievance against this person. And then I'd sort of, because what happens is the grievance is there, but there's like a whole lot of stuff going on there. You might be thinking about all the things you have to do today, and I've got to pay my insurance, and, and do I need to see my mum, and do I need to ring this person? And then sort of, so once you quieten your mind, the actual grievance or the grievances that are sitting there can rise to the surface, and you can get clear on them. And that's the method I use. Like Annie, I'd meditate, and I'd see what it was, that the situation became a little bit more clearer to me of what was causing the agitation and the grievance.
That's a great idea, just inquiring into the feeling too, just like, what do I think this feeling means? So. Like, just when you said that, it was like, oh, what do I think this, like, I went to, what do I think this feeling means? Oh, it means I'm vulnerable. Like, bam, there was sort of an answer there immediately. Yeah. Whatever I'm feeling now, oh, I think this feeling means I'm vulnerable. I'm giving this feeling all the meaning it has for me. Okay, now I can...
Yeah, and I think also, like what he says, if you just start writing the feelings down, you probably, the person or the situation that those feelings are related to will reveal themselves, because as you enter into it, it's like that oh yes, okay, I see. It was this person that said this and this to me yesterday, and I haven't quite dealt with it. I'm still holding on to some grievance with them that I've pushed aside because I got busy doing other things. But the feelings of being unfairly treated are still there.
I will get images of self too. Like, I will just get images like a little girl cowering in the darkness and things like that too. So it's not always necessarily about an actual happening. Those images can represent some, a self-concept.
Yeah, I think it's really good to say that we're all going to do something, that we're going to get something different, and it's about, we're all unique in the way, whatever, but it's all the same thing. But it's really just you're going to get something, and different processes are going to work better for you than others. So you just have to. It's really important not to think, oh, there's one thing that unlocks this. It's a combination of things, and it's like whatever you feel drawn to, whatever's helpful. I think you should follow that. If you find something that really works for you, just keep doing it. And if you get something and you feel like, oh no, this doesn't feel like it's right for me, I prefer just applying the daily lesson or doing this, stick with that. There's no right or wrong way. Just do what feels right for you, whatever you're doing. But it's really good to hear, Annie, that those things have helped. And I was just wondering, I don't know whether because this morning group started out as raising issues, would it be better that this morning group becomes more of something where you actually do more of the writing and the activation of that, now we're going into it? Or do you still want to do it as what we're doing at the moment, like a talking group, a sharing group? What does everyone think? Because groups, we've got to remember that groups move and change with the level we're at. And so we've just got to be mindful of what's most helpful for the group.
My feeling is to keep it talking. Like I said, I would probably like one day where we just concentrate on a lesson, to like out of the 7 days, but I'm sort of making that time for writing available, like on the Monday and Friday at 8 o'clock. And like I said, I might, do a spontaneous like 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, the midweek too, for a writing thing. So that's my feeling at the moment. And I have been very aware of what you said, Kate, that this is it's going to morph and change the whole group. What's being helpful and what's being called for.
Well, I'm just happy to take feedback from everybody here, because I'm just here to host the group and just give feedback and just bring things through that I feel might be helpful. So, we all own the group, so it's our group. It's a tool for us. So I'm happy to take feedback from anybody if you think group might be more useful for something else in a way. Sometimes it's just nice to turn up and just have a space just to say what's going on for you and just, share. And that's it. It's other than that, and that's its beauty, just to come on, and because that is a good thing to do, just to have a place to, like for Mike, just to hear Mike say that, and Kevin, just to get, your introspection and just share what's coming through from these forgiveness practices. That's always a nice thing, because it's nice just to share it out, share the miracles. That's lovely. Did you want to say anything more as a sharing today?
I would actually, like, just talking about like the miracle happening. I got a birthday card from my mum today, and that's one of the, like I was talking about yesterday, how we're really outpicturing everyone in our minds, and as the concepts are released and our judgments released, we literally get those same people come back into our life, and they seem different. Yeah. And I noticed yesterday, like, it really is like you, Kate, I'm starting to forget it, but there's sort of a little memory like that. I had a very difficult relationship with my mother, and that's, like I said, I can barely remember the story now. It's really kind of going sort of thing. But yeah, she was just always super critical to me. It's not like she was an anxious person, but she was always, everything was protecting the body. And, like I said, she had seat belts in the car when you never used to have them. And everything was, about being safe. And it's funny, the Pollyanna thing, because it was almost this birthday card, as I was reading it, she was just saying stuff in it like, that she can't believe she had 3 beautiful children, that she made 3 beautiful children. And once upon a time, like, she would have probably concentrated more on, how we'd fucked up sort of thing, like how we'd always caused her trouble or whatever, except for my brother, who's the golden boy, but, so it was like almost like hers, like feeling like as if she's getting more of a Pollyanna view, which of course is reflecting some sort of change in my mind, obviously, but that she would sort of just talk about the good that she was, almost like the good and the beauty she was seeing. Just so it's sort of, and I would have, like, I probably would have stuff with my mum. I would have done back in those radical forgiveness days when I was given that tool. I would have looked at stuff with my mum sort of back then. But so it's showing up as seeing my mum differently at the moment too, and that's kind of a bit of a side effect. It's not like I've been concentrating on her at all. And so that was really lovely to see, like, you're starting feeling the love there a little bit, right? And just seeing the whole way she wrote the card and everything differently. And also yesterday I had to take Johnny to hospital over at Lismore, and of course that happened 6 weeks ago, just before the corona lockdown thing happened too. He went into hospital over there, and I had to park the car a fair way down. Like, I dropped him off at emergency and I parked the car a long way down, and so I had to walk up the hill, and I just noticed as I was walking up, I was going, oh, this is good. Like, I have, even though there's still quite a tight grip and everything, I have more energy. You know, like 6 weeks ago, I still would have felt like I was walking through molasses, or feeling like I'm walking with molasses sort of thing, up the hill sort of thing, as I walked up there. So again, you know, it's just like little subtle changes that are happening that are starting to show up, and that really is through our whatever it's been, our 6 weeks. I guess it's probably 4 or 5 weeks now, I'm not quite sure, but however long that we've been showing up for this morning dedication and exposing, and there is movement, there is little subtle changes and everything happening. And just this morning, someone sent me an email, and they said something about me in the email, and I noticed there's just, I could feel, and this was more of a pride thing, you know, like getting, and I noticed, there's that again, there's still pride. Like, someone says something as if that concept means something, what they're saying to me means something. And that, again, it's like that was there, okay. And the opposite of that was almost almost the martyr, because they said something like, you're an amazing woman or something. And so, you know, there's little bit of pride in there, and noticing that pride, and on the other spectrum of pride is the sacrificial martyr, you know, unworthy sort of self picture. And again, just noticing those little things, having the light to notice that no, I don't want any of that. That, you know, the mind of God has none of that either side in it. You know, the mind we share with God only has one thing in it. There's no pride. There's nothing to be proud of in the mind of God. What would there be to be proud of in a singular mind that sees only one and has only one thing in it? What would it be proud of? So, you know, just stuff like that where I can go, okay, that's still operating. That's still as if those concepts have some meaning. I don't want those. I want to see they're false concepts. They have no meaning, no reality to them, and offer those up, and ask for help that they're unwound in me. So someone calls you anything, and it's just a meaningless concept. It's nothing.
Yeah.
So again, thank you everyone so much for showing up every day.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. That's really, you know, so insightful. So getting, as you're expressing it here, you're getting like a deeper, you know, as you teach, you learn. It's really beautiful. If someone's got the Course in Miracles book with them, maybe you could read one of the prayers towards the end of the book. You know, I think it's after lesson 220. I think they go into what I call the prayers, which is just, you know, where we just come in silence to our Father. Just read that out, that'd be nice.
This is lesson 221. Peace to my mind. Let all my thoughts be still. Father, I come to you today to seek the peace that you alone can give. I come in silence, in the quiet of my heart, the deep recesses of my mind, I wait and listen for your voice. My Father, speak to me today. I come to hear your voice in silence and in certainty and love. Sure, you will hear my call and answer me. Now do we wait in quiet. God is here because we wait together. I am sure that He will speak to you and you will hear. Accept my confidence, for it is yours. Our minds are joined. We wait with one intent, to hear our Father's answer to our call, to let our thoughts be still and find His peace, to hear Him speak to us of what we are, and to reveal Himself unto His Son. Peace to my mind. Let all my thoughts be still.